Hi, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you for tapping on this video. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to share with you on how to draft a basic sleeve pattern and added allowance, which means that how to add allowance to your basic sleeve pattern. All right, how to draft a basic sleeve pattern together with the allowance. So to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is to draft my basic sleeve. I already drafted a basic sleeve pattern in my previous video that you can go there to check that out. So I'm going to repeat that again for the sake of those that have not watched that video. So I'm going to draft a basic pattern again to show you how to do it, and then I'm going to add the allowance to it. So to draft the basic pattern, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be needing some very basic measurements. I'm going to need my sleeve length, which is the measurement from my sleeve down to my wrist, because this is a long sleeve. I'm drafting for a long sleeve pattern. All right, so I'm going to need the measurement from my shoulder down to my wrist, which is my sleeve length, and then from my shoulder down to my bicep, which is my upper arm measurement. All right, then from my shoulder down to my bicep, which is my upper arm measurement, then from my shoulder down to my elbow. All right, then from my shoulder down to my wrist. All right, so now for my bicep, which is my upper arm, I'm going to measure my circumference, which is I'm going to measure the circumference, and then the circumference of my elbow also, and then the circumference of my wrist. All right, when you measure your wrist, make sure that there is a little freeness in it. So then I'm going to measure the round circumference of my elbow also. And for my elbow, when you're measuring your elbow, make sure that you measure your elbow while folding this way. All right, so I'm going to measure it, which is going to be the round circumference. So after I've gotten all these measurements in place, then I'll go ahead to draft my pattern. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draft a shoulder line here, which is going to serve as my baseline. So to draft that shoulder line, I'm just going to come down by 1/2 inch. Then I'll connect this together. So here is my shoulder line, which also serves as my baseline. I'm going to be taking all my measurements from this line. Now from that line, I'm going to come down by 5 inches. Which is my bicep. All right, I'll come then my elbow, I'm going to come down by 12 inches, which is the length from my shoulder down to my elbow is 12 inches, and then the length from my shoulder down to my wrist, which is my sleeve length, is 18 inches. Okay, I'm just going to repeat this measurement here again. For my shoulder, 5 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches. Then I'm going to connect all these points I have. I'm going to connect them all through into a straight line, just like this. Then I'll go ahead to label these lines. So here is the shoulder line. Here is my bicep line. Here is the elbow line. And here is the wrist line. Now the next thing I'm going to do is the round circumference of my bicep, which is also my upper arm circumference, is 12.5. So I'm going to divide that by 2. That will give me 6.25. So here on this bicep line, I'm going to mark my 6.25. Now I'm coming down to the elbow line. My elbow measurement is 11.5. Divided by 2, that gives me 5.25. So here on the elbow line, I'm going to mark 5.25. Then I'll come down to my wrist. The round circumference of my wrist is 9 inches. Okay, so I'm going to divide that by 2. That gives me 4.5. So on this wrist line, I'm going to mark 4.5. Now I'll connect all these points I have. I'm going to connect them all into a straight line, just like this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is from this bicep line, this bicep point, I'm going to connect it to this shoulder line. So using a straight line. So I'll connect to my shoulder line just like this. Now this line I've just drawn, I'll measure it Then I'll divide it into 2. Then I'll mark the midpoint of this line. I'll mark it here. Then on this midpoint now, I'll just come up by 1/2 inch on this midpoint. I'll come up by 1/2 inch, just like this. So on this 1/2 inch mark now, I'm going to connect using a straight line from this 1/2 inch down to this bicep line. Now from this 1/2 inch also, I'm going to connect down to this shoulder line. I'm going to connect that with a curve. That is not going to be a straight line, that is going to be a curve. So I'm going to connect, and that is what I have. So now this is the back. Now I'm going to go ahead to draft for the front. Now for the front, what I'm just going to do to draft for the front is I'm going to come down here on this line. This is 4 inches, which is from here to here, where I have that 1/2 inch mark. I'm going to measure that line that I have there. I'm going to divide it into 2. So this is 4 inches I have here, divided by 2, that gives me 2 inches. I'll mark that 2 inches point. I'll do the same thing here also. From here, this 1/2 inch mark, down to the bicep line, I'm going to measure it. Whatever I have 4 inches. I'm going to divide that by 2. So, like, I'm going to divide the line into 2 equal halves like this and mark the midpoint. Now what I'm going to do is, on this mark that I have here, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch. Just come down by 1/2 inch like this. Okay, now for this one here, I'm going to come up by 1/2 inch. Just come up by 1/2 inch, just like that. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is to connect these lines together. I'm going to be connecting from this bicep line to this 1/2 inch mark that I have, and then to this midpoint here, using a curved rule. So I'm going to make a curve just like this from this point, all through to this point, and then down like this. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing also. I'll connect from this point to this 1/2 inch mark, and then to the shoulder line, using a curved rule also. So you connect from this point down to this, you connect from this point down to this mark, this point, and then all through to the shoulder line, just like that. This line here is the back, and this curved S-shaped line is the front. So now the next thing we're going to do now is to add the allowance. All right, because before you add your allowance, you have to make sure to draft your sleeve pattern first, then before you now add your allowance. Let's assume we are adding 1 inch allowance. So I'm going to mark 1 inch. That is, if we are adding 1 inch allowance, so you add 1 inch like that on the bicep line. On the elbow line also, you mark 1 inch. Then on the wrist line also, you come down and then you add 1 inch. All right, connect all these lines, you connect them together. So here is how to add allowance to your sleeve. So the next thing is just to cut out our sleeve. I'm going to be cutting it out along the side that I marked. This is the pattern for our sleeve. All right, a basic sleeve pattern with the allowance added. So the next thing is just to take this pattern and to cut it out on our main fabric. All right, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and also if you're yet to be a member of this great family, please do well to tap on the subscribe button and also tap on the bell icon just right beside the subscribe button to be a member of this great sewing family. Until I see you in my next video, have a great day. Bye, and thanks a lot for watching. Thank you so much.